Okay, so this particular episode is going to shoot on my mobile phone. Now, I've had this particular Saab 9.5 for a little while, so the things which you get used to or you get familiar with once you've had a car for a while, which you don't when you just got a car for a day or two. For example, well, straight up, this car is a very comfortable car. But what it's not, I'll just tell you straight up, it's not a sports car. But that can come as no surprise to anybody. It may have somewhere in the region of 250 bhp, which makes it a performance car, but it's not a sports car. What this car is a luxury executive saloon. It's an executive. I like to call it an executive express, because what it is genuinely rapid. It's comfortable, it's smooth, it's quiet, it can cruise 70, 80, 90, 100 miles an hour, no problem. In fact, the motorway is probably what you consider its natural habitat, or long, sweeping A road. It's not like a tight, twisty kind of car. It's certainly not the kind of car you take on a track. Now, one of the reasons why I wanted to test this car is because a few years ago in Top Gear, Jeremy Clarkson did a test of this car. He called it the Architect's car. Basically, he took it around the track, put his foot flat down, turned the wheel, and then cursed the car for understeering because it's just going straight. I mean, to be honest with you, with a front-wheel drive car, you have to drive it a little bit differently anyway. A lot of the police cars are front-wheel drive cars, and they have no problem catching people. So it's not a track car. I say that straight out because it's heavy, and you feel the weight of it when you're moving. It feels a little bit cumbersome. It's not an agile, quick car, quick-witted type of car. It's a slow-witted type of car, but it's smooth and quiet and comfortable. So you're not going to take this car on a track because it doesn't dance. It's not light. It's not light. You feel the weight of it in the steering. But take the idea of having some kind of track car out of your mind. For example, who'd buy a 5-door luxury, executive saloon to go around the track? No one would. So it's ridiculous. So take that out of your mind and don't think of it as a car that you're going to take around a test track, and just think of it instead as a rapid gentleman's express, and that kind of gets you closer to what this car is really all about, and closer really to its strengths as well. It's got a 2.3 litre turbo, and a lot of torque seems to be available from quite low down in the rev range. I've got this particular one's an automatic, which seems to really suit the character quite well, because it's kind of a stealth car. You prod your foot and you plunder along, you put it down a little bit more aggressively, and you can really reel people in no time at all. It's one of those cars that can do 60, 70 miles an hour in the blink of an eye without even really realising it. The offside of all this tremendous performance is the fact that it is quite thirsty. It's a thirsty car. You can't get away from that either. The best I managed to get out of this car is about 32, 33 miles per gallon. That's on a long motorway run. Around town it's going to drop to about 90 miles per gallon. So the performance you get out of this particular vehicle does seem to come at a price. An interesting feature this car has is an S button, a sport button, which does actually make a big difference. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to turn this camera around. Boom. I'm not going to tell you what speed that was, but in no time at all, we've racked up some serious speed. Better slow it back down again. Alright, what we're going to do then, I'm going to take this car around one or two of my favourite roads to see how it copes. Right now we're in the centre of Manchester. We're just driving around the inner city. This is not this car's natural habitat. This is not a car which you buy to whiz around the inner city. It's not a small, nippy type of car whatsoever. So around here, it's probably not the best environment from it. It won't be the most economical going around these kind of roads. You know, having said that, it does seem to ride bumps very, very well. It soaks up bumps, it's very compliant. It's a genuinely comfortable car to drive. Is it the kind of car you take out on a Sunday morning to go for a drive by yourself? Maybe, but you'd have to choose your roads. But it is the kind of car you might take if you're going for a long journey. You're going for a long journey that encompasses a variety of different roads, then yes, this is definitely the kind of car you take for that, because it's comfortable, it's smooth, it's quiet, and you can carry 5 occupants in some pretty decent comfort, and it's got a pretty big boot as well. And the seats, which I must stress again, are remarkably comfortable. Okay, so we're on the inside in the Saab 9.5. Now, it's a nice interior, but there are a few sort of contradictions which are kind of hard to get the head around. First of all, we have these remarkably comfortable seats covered in a nice soft leather, and all this car's 12 years old. It's aged extremely well. Let's show you, take the camera around, maybe zoom out. We can see that the interior is aged really, really well. Also, we have, take focus out, we have the seats are heated, and it's, you know, it's steering wheel controls, and for the radio, for volume, you've got cruise control, so you've got a range of quite nice features and luxury items inside this car. But then that's contradicted against kind of poor build quality. So you've got like poor materials, you've got like quite cheapest plastics. It looks good. This here is quite hard, scrabbly plastic, although I don't mind this so much as the plastics here. Very flexible. This works quite well. But then all the switchgear feels really cheap and really flimsy. So it's a real strange mix of things inside this car. Cheap switchgear, but quite a comfortable, well-wearing interior. Right, this is a nice strip of road. I'm going to press the S button. Alright, I've engaged the S button. Go back out. Right, ooh! Straight away. Ooh, this car's so live, the camera won't stay still. Wow. What a big difference. It becomes a little bit unwieldy, but much sharper response. It can handle. Not the most confidence inspiring, to be honest with you. Woo! Understeered there a little bit. The brakes stop you, but again, they don't fill you with confidence, to be honest with you. This car's very good. Ooh. This S mode makes a big difference. Cars are really good at going fast, but it's not got a lot of finesse to it. It's like the chassis or the steering can't quite handle the way the torque allows the power to come in, especially in S mode. I'm going to ease it off S mode and try just normal. Okay, so we're back off S mode. Obviously, we're in the little village now, so we slow down anyway. So it can shift, and pressing the S button does make it the power delivery a lot more exciting and a lot more responsive. But the handling doesn't really inspire you with confidence. I mean, I've been down the same road with, albeit a slightly smaller car, the BMW 330, when I had a BMW 330 diesel, and that was fantastic. That was a beautifully flowing vehicle. This, I felt it understeer on a little bit on a couple of the bends, and I wasn't really going flat out. So straight away, it doesn't inspire me confidence. Doesn't make me want to fly down a windy road in this car. But when you go off the boil, oh, it's quite nice. Capri. Haven't seen one of those for a while. When you go off the boil and you're just cruising around again and you just want to relax, it does a relaxing thing very well. So what kind of car is this then? Well, okay, what kind of car is this then? Well, it's not a sports car. It's just, and no one would describe it as I don't think it's describe it as a sports car. What it is a car with some average handling, with a very good engine. It's a very powerful, responsive engine, and the mid-range thrust of this is like a little rocket ship. It's comfortable, it's quiet, it's absorbent, so you're not crashing over bumps. I guess the trade-off is if you wanted a car that could handle a lot better, you need a stiffer suspension setup. So it does a lot of things okay, and it does some things very well. So, for example, it works as a luxury car quite well, fairly well. You can carry your family across continent type car, again, because of its space and its comfort, very well. Very, very comfortable seats, and some things you can't underestimate when you've got a car as a long-term proposition how important certain things are. I mean, it's okay to fly around a bend at ridiculous speeds with the tail sliding out and holding that slide or whatever perfectly. I mean, that's wonderful. But on an everyday basis, you want a car that does most things quite well, and this car does a lot of things quite well. The things it does quite impressively. The way the power comes in, very impressive. So this is kind of a point and squirt type car. A point and squirt car. If you're travelling on a motorway or a road not quite as windy as this, this is not the kind of road which best suits a particular vehicle. The brakes don't inspire with confidence. They stop, but they just don't inspire don't have a lot of feel. The handling doesn't inspire a lot of confidence because of the power. It's very easy to understeer in this car, which it's not really that nice a feeling. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. You have to drive a little bit differently, slow into the corners and maybe power out. Well, I guess you change your driving style, you can still, it's not a slow car, it's not like it can't handle. But yeah, but when you want a car that can, say, plug the gap in traffic or chase someone down, or it's perfect for that, because all the torque's available once you're up and running as well. So if you're driving around at 30 miles an hour, plant your foot, there are very few cars in this kind of category that can stay with you, because a lot of the way the turbo spools up, it really is, its mid-range punch is phenomenal. Then you've got the image of the car. It's a nice alternative to the likes of your BMW and your Mercedes and your Audi. What does it say about you? It says that you're kind of independently minded. You're not as easily swayed by necessarily having to go for the obvious choice. So it says, in a way, it says more about you, especially because BMW and Mercedes and Audi, they're so common now. I think a BMW 3 Series is more common than a Ford Mondeo. Okay, Dream Car Garage marks out of 10. Well, I don't know if it comes across, but it seemed like I'm underwhelmed by it. I didn't think I would be overwhelmed by it. But in summary, it's a comfortable, quiet, quick car. A little bit disappointing the choice of materials inside. It shows that they've had to cut budget somewhere, and unfortunately the interior quality of the materials is not up to scratch. What's really disappointing with regards to the build quality is the switchgear. That feels really cheap and really genuinely fragile, like it would break easily. And that's not a confidence inspiring thing, especially something that's has aspirations to be beyond the Ford and the Volkswagen Passat. I mean, the Volkswagen Passat, by contrast, feels a lot more solidly built with beautifully weighted switchgear. So that just shows you the idea of the contrast. But marks out of 10, Dream Car Guide marks out of 10. I'm going to give this car about 6.5 out of 10. It's an enjoyable car to drive, mainly because it's so powerful. The way the torque comes in, the automatic gearbox is very nice. It's nice and smooth. A little bit sluggish in standard mode. You have to really press your foot down before it wakes up. But when you press the S button, it does significantly sharpen up the responses and seems to give you what feels like more bhp, or at least a more readily available access to power. But the flip side of that is that does expose the fact that the car doesn't feel comfortable handling that much power. So you get a lot more wheel spin. It starts to feel a little bit unwieldy. It's a 75% car. What I mean by that is that as long as you are not asking too much of it, then it's really quite impressive. For example, if you're only pressing along 75%, then it feels damped, it feels composed, hands quite nicely. When you start to push over 75%, start to really give it some 80%, 90%, and you start to come towards the edges of its limitations, then it doesn't rise to the occasion. It doesn't feel like a kind of car that rises to the occasion, but it feels a little bit unsettled. It's almost as if to say, well, you should be happy enough with the output I'm giving you. What do you want more for? This is what this car's best at. Dual carriageway, motorway, giving it some. This is, I would imagine, is this car's best habitat. But Dream Car Guide marks out of 10. I'm going to go for about 6.5 out of 10. A decent score for a pretty decent car. I'm just going to turn the camera back round. A decent score for, I think, a pretty decent car. So, David Liburd signing out for Dream Car Garage. And remember, don't just dream it, drive it. I haven't said that for a while.